Working with symptoms. Listening to your body. The relief of symptoms of various kinds is a multi-billion-dollar industry. The slightest sniffle, headache, or stomach ache sends people scurrying to the medicine cabinet or drugstore in the search of the magic something to make it go away. There are over-the-counter medications to make the digestive tract slowest down, others to make it speed up, others to relieve heartburn or neutralize excess stomach acid. With a prescription from a physician, you can obtain drugs to reduce anxiety, such as Valium and Xanax, and drugs to relieve pain, such as Percodan. Tranquilizers such as Valium and Xanax, and drugs that decrease the secretion of stomach acid, such as Tagamet and Zantac, are among the most prescribed medications in the country. They are used primarily to relieve symptoms of the discomfort, and they work very well in most instances. But the trouble with the widespread use of many such drugs is that the underlying problems that are producing the symptoms may not be getting addressed just because the symptoms are temporarily relieved. This practice of immediately going for a drug to relieve a symptom reflects a widespread attitude that symptoms are inconvenient, useless threats to our ability to live life the way that we want to live it, and that they should be suppressed or eliminated whenever possible. The problem with this attitude is that what we call symptoms are often the body's way of telling us that something is out of balance. They are feedback about dysregulation. If we ignore these messages, or worse, suppress them, it may only lead to more severe symptoms and more serious problems later on. What is more, the person doing this is not learning how to listen to and trust his or her body. Before people begin the stress reduction program, they fill out a questionnaire in which they check off from a list of over 100 common physical and emotional symptoms, those they have experienced as problematic in the preceding month. They do the same thing again after completing the stress clinic program 8 weeks later. We observe some interesting things when we compare these two symptom lists. First, most people come into the program with a relatively high number of symptoms. The average number of symptoms is 22 out of about 110 possible ones. That is a lot of symptoms. When people leave, they are checking off on the average about 14 symptoms, or 36% fewer symptoms than when they started. This is a dramatic reduction in a short period of time, especially for people who have that many symptoms in the first place and have had them for quite a long time. You might wonder whether this reduction in the number of the symptoms is a non-specific effect of having some attention paid to them, since it is well known that people can feel better temporarily when they receive almost any kind of professional attention in a medical setting. You might ask whether perhaps the reduction in symptoms is just due to their coming to the hospital every week and being part of a positive group setting, rather than to anything special that they are doing in the stress clinic, such as practicing meditation. While that is a credible supposition, in this case it is unlikely. The participants in the stress clinic have been receiving professional attention from the healthcare system right along for their problems. On the average, the chief medical complaint for which they are referred to us has been a problem for them for about 7 years. It is unlikely that just coming to the hospital and being in a room full of other people with chronic medical problems and having attention paid to them would by itself result in these substantial reductions in their symptoms. But certainly one element contributing to their improvement might well be that they are challenged to do something for themselves for a change to enhance their own health. This facet of their experience in the stress clinic is a radical departure from the passive role most people assume or are forced into during treatment in the healthcare system. Another reason to suspect that the symptom reduction we see among the participants in the stress clinic results from something that people actually learn in the program is that the reduction is maintained and even improves further after people leave. We know this from several follow-up studies in which we obtained information from over 400 people at different times for up to 4 years after they completed the program. We also know from these studies that over 90% of the people who complete the program say that they are keeping up their meditation practice in one form or another for up to 4 years after they graduate. Most rate their training in the stress clinic as very important to their improved health status. Although we see dramatic symptom reduction during the 8 weeks, we actually focus very little on symptoms in the classes, and when we do, it is not to try to reduce them or make them go away. For one thing, the classes are a mix of people with many different medical problems. Each person has an entirely different and unique constellation of symptoms and concerns, as well as a specific medical treatment plan. In a room with 20 to 35 people, all of whom are anxious and concerned about their symptoms and wanting to get rid of them, to focus primarily on the details of each person's situation would simply encourage self-preoccupation and illness behavior. Our minds being what they are, such a forum would in all likelihood give rise to never-ending discussions of what is the matter, rather than on personal transformation. This avenue would be of little real benefit to the participants, except for the sympathy and group support it would evoke, which, while certainly therapeutic, are unlikely to lead to profound changes in either view or behavior. By choosing to focus in stress clinic classes on what is right with the people rather than on what is wrong with them, without denying what is wrong, we are able to go beyond self-involved preoccupations with the details of what is wrong and come to the heart of the matter, namely how people can begin to taste their own wholeness as they are, right now. Instead of discussing symptoms as woes and how to get rid of them, when we do focus on symptoms of one kind or another, it is to tune in to the actual experience of the symptoms themselves in those moments when they dominate the mind and body. We do this in a particular way, which might be called giving them wise attention. Wise attention involves bringing the stability and calm of mindfulness to our symptoms and to our reactions to them. We call it wise to distinguish it from the usual type of attention we pay to our problems and crises. For example, when you have a serious chronic illness, it is only to be expected that you will be very concerned and preoccupied, perhaps even frightened and depressed about the ways in which your body has changed from what it once was, and about what new problems you might have to face in the future. The result is that a lot of a certain kind of attention is spent on your symptoms, but it is not helpful or healing attention. It is the opposite of wise attention. More often than not, it is reactive, judgmental, fearful, and self-preoccupied. The way of mindfulness is to accept ourselves right now as we are, symptoms or no symptoms, pain or no pain, fear or no fear. Instead of rejecting our experience as undesirable, we ask, what is this symptom saying? What is it telling me about my body and my mind right now? We allow ourselves, for a moment at least, to go right into the full-blown feeling of the symptom. This takes a certain amount of courage, especially if the symptom involves pain or a chronic illness or fear of death. But you can at least dip your toe in by trying it just a little, say for 10 seconds, just to move in a little closer for a clearer look. As we do this, we may also become aware of our feelings about the symptom as they emerge. If there is anger or rejection or fear or despair or resignation, we look at that as well as dispassionately as possible. Why? For no other reason than that it is here now. It is already part of our experience. To move to greater levels of health and well-being, we have to start from where we actually are today, in this moment, not from where we would like to be. Movement toward greater health is only possible because of now, because of where we are. So looking closely at our symptoms and our feelings about them, and coming to accept them as they are, is of utmost importance. In this light, symptoms of illness or distress, plus your feelings about them, can be viewed as messengers coming to tell you something important about your body or about your mind. In the old days, if a king didn't like the message he was given, he would sometimes have the messenger killed. This is tantamount to suppressing your symptoms or your feelings because they are unwanted. Killing the messenger and denying the message or raging against it are not intelligent ways of approaching healing. The one thing we don't want to do is to ignore or rupture the essential connections that can complete relevant feedback loops and restore self-regulation and balance. Our real challenge when we have symptoms is to see if we can listen to their messages and really hear them and take them to heart, that is, make the connection fully. When a patient in the stress clinic tells me that he or she had a headache during the body scan or during a sitting of meditation, my response might be, "All right, now tell us how you worked with it." What I am looking for is whether, if you became aware that you had a headache during the time you were meditating, you used the occasion as an opportunity to look into this experience you are calling a headache, which is often a problem for you in your life anyway, even when you aren't meditating. Did you observe it with wise attention? Did you bring mindfulness and acceptance to feeling the sensations? Did you watch your thoughts at that moment? Or did the mind jump automatically into rejection and judging, perhaps to thinking that somehow you were failing at meditation, or that you can't relax, or that meditation doesn't work, or that nothing can cure your headaches? Anybody can have any or all of these negative thoughts, and many others as well. They may come in and go out of your mind at different times in reaction to the headache. As with any other reaction, the challenge here is to shift your attention so that you can see them as thoughts, and in doing so, welcome the headache into the present moment because it is here anyway, like it or not. Can you decipher its message by directing careful attention to how your body feels right now? Are you aware now of a mood or emotion that may have preceded your realizing that you had a headache? Was there an event that triggered it that you can identify? What are you feeling right now emotionally? Are you feeling anxious and depressed, sad, angry, disappointed, discouraged, annoyed? Are you able to be with whatever you are feeling in this moment? Can you breathe with the sensations of the headache, the pounding feeling in the temples, or whatever it is? Can you see your reactions with wise attention? Can you just watch your feelings and thoughts and see them as just feelings and thoughts? Can you catch yourself identifying with them as my feelings, my anger, my thoughts, my headache, and let go of the my and just accept the moment as it is? When you look into the headache, seeing the constellation of thoughts and feelings, the reacting, the judging, and the rejecting of how you are feeling, the wishing to feel differently that may be going on in your mind, perhaps you will realize at a certain point that you are not your headache unless you go along with this inner process of identification, unless you yourself make it your headache. Maybe it is just a headache, or maybe it is just a feeling in the head that doesn't need a name at all right now. The ways we use language tell us a lot about the automatic way we personalize our symptoms and illnesses. For instance, we say, I have a headache, or I have a cold, or I have a fever, when it would be more accurate to say something like, the body is headaching of colding or fevering. When we automatically and unconsciously link each symptom we experience to I and my, the mind is already creating a certain amount of trouble for us. We have to perceive this identifying with the symptom when it occurs and purposefully let go of it in order to listen more deeply to its message, free from our exaggerated reactions. By seeing the headache or the cold as a process, we are acknowledging that it is dynamic and not static, that is not ours, but is rather an unfolding process that we are experiencing. When you look into a symptom with the full power of mindfulness, whether it is muscle tension, rapid heartbeats, shortness of breath, fever, or pain, it gives you much more of a chance to remember to honor your body and listen to the messages it is trying to give you. When we fail to honor these messages, either through denial or by an inflated and self-involved preoccupation with symptoms, we can sometimes create serious dilemmas for ourselves. Usually your body will try desperately to get its messages through to you, despite the bad connection with conscious awareness. A priest described his medical history in class one day this way. Looking at it after having been practicing the meditation for a few weeks, it seemed to him that his body had been trying to get him to slow down his fast-paced, type A lifestyle by giving him headaches at work. But he didn't listen, even though the headaches got worse, so his body gave him an ulcer. But still he didn't listen. Finally, it sent him a mild heart attack, which scared him so much that he started to listen. He actually said that he felt grateful for his heart attack and took it as a gift, because he said it could have killed him, but it didn't. It gave him another chance. He felt this could well be his final chance to start taking his body seriously, to listen to its messages and honor them.